Okay, I'm on my way down to Rhode Island to play with my man Hayden, aka Dookie Bets. Little home game he's running. Go subscribe to his channel. Check it out if you haven't already. And yeah. All right, we're gonna get right into the mix here. First hand we look down at is pocket aces. We're in the under the gun +1 double straddle. As a quick intro for this game, it plays as a 25-cent small blind, 50-cent big blind. But we're a new player in this game. We're here to give action. We will be straddling all night long. And here when we pick up aces, there's no better time than to pick them up in the straddle. Of course, when it limps to us, that's not going to be enough. We're bumping that up for sure. Small blind call, so going heads up in position. Always pretty desirable. And what's even more desirable is flopping top set on ace 3-6 monochrome. Not the biggest fan of no heart in this situation, but never going to complain about top set. He folds. We'll take down the first pot of the night. Not too shabby. We put out our under the gun straddle, and this is just raw footage we're rolling. First hand we picked up aces. Second hand we pick up king, queen of diamonds. Seems like it's going to be a fun night if we keep picking up these kind of cards. Really quickly, new setup. These green chips are 25 cents, black chips $1, and these purple chips are going to be worth $5. There's a button open over my straddle. Dookie Bets and the big blind is going to call. I'm not a big fan of this price for $3.50, so we're going to put in the 3-bet up to $14. Seems like the button was just messing around because he pretty quickly folds. Hayden in the big blind doesn't quite believe me. We're going to go heads up for some vlogger on vlogger crime. Flop comes great for my range, pretty decent for my actual hand. It's ace, ace, queen, rainbow. He checks to me. And on paired boards, I usually like to size down. We go super small. I think maybe a little too small. We go 550 into 32 here. He can't fold probably any hand for that price. When the turn's the 5 of diamonds and he checks to me, we're going to check it back for some pot control on ace watch. When the river's a 6 of clubs, if he checks to us, we're probably going to go for half pot, but when he block bets for 5, we beat him in the pot, and we're good against pocket 9s. JQ Poker 1, Dookie Bets 0. But it's going to be a long night. He's going to have plenty of chances to get me back. Alright guys, jumping right into our next hand. Apparently we're only getting really good cards to start here. We have ace king offsuit in the cutoff. There's a middle position raise to $1.75. We're going to 3-bet up to $5. It'll fold around to the big blind, who checks his cards, and he's actually going to cold call the 3-bet here. So getting a little spooky early. Middle position raiser with getting great odds. Actually he's going to get out of the way here, so we're going to go heads up in position. Always want to be in position, especially in 3-bet pots. Flop's going to come out very favorable for us. It's ace 3-7 with 2 hearts. Top pair, top kicker with the backdoor heart draw. When it checks to us, board's also good for our range. Of course, we're going to see that. We go for 4. Maybe a little small. Could maybe size up. But I don't expect him to hit this too often. Expect him to have a lot of middling pocket pairs. So he calls quickly. Turns the 4 of spades. We're going to size up here. We go for 15. He pretty quickly calls again. The river's the 9 of diamonds. When he checks for a 3rd time, I think this is where being in position is a really good advantage. Out of position, you might try and check and let heart draws bluff at it, but here when he checks again, we're going to go for 27 on a river bet, targeting weaker aces. He thinks for a little bit, but looks like he's counting out chips, and eventually, after a little bit of deliberation, he puts in the call, and we are good against ace-jack. There you go, guys. Always got to go for some value. Might be a little thin going for 3 streets with just 1 pair, but we get paid off there. Take down a pretty nice pot. This next hand's a very interesting one, pretty big pot. We have ace-jack offsuit in the big blind. There's a double straddle on to $2. It's going to fold around to the small blind. Dookie bets in the small blind is just going to complete and call the $2. We have a Broadway card along with an ace. It's good enough to squeeze. We make it 10. For this game, I know I've only been showing some strong hands I've gotten on the vlog so far, but I've been playing pretty loose, trying to give some action. It's my first time playing in this game, so when he calls at $10, I don't think his range has to be super condensed. I think he can call me wide because he thinks I'm squeezing wide. So ace-jack here is kind of toward the top of my squeezing range, as crazy as that sounds. And the flop comes out deuce, queen, jack with 2 clubs. Pretty decent for us. We're going to size up usually on these flush draw boards with 2 broadways. It's going to be better for my range. I think as played, I go too large here. Pot's $23. I go for 20 into 23. I think it's too big. Should go 15 to 18, and he pretty quickly says, yeah. Yeah, I don't love it. This is why I don't like to go too large, because then you could just get shipped on straight away. Should go smaller on the flop bet, but my first instinct is to fold. Pretty much snap jams, but let's start to count combos. Let's check our pot odds. It's 86 more to win around 235, so getting a little bit worse than 3 to 1. I need about 38% equity in this spot to be break even. So let's start counting some combos. So if he has a hand like a flush draw with clubs, we're about a 63% favorite, getting the right odds. If he has pocket 2s, we're smoked. Have to go runner. If he has queen X, we're a 4 to 1 dog, only about 20%. I don't know how much queen X he would have after just calling in the small blind. Probably not ace queen. I would even say probably not king queen. We block queen jack, which is important. Maybe queen 10. If he has a straight draw like king 10 or 9-10, we're about a 62 to 67% favorite. Definitely getting the right odds. If he has a combo draw like 9-10 of clubs, for example, we're flipping, but still getting the right odds. We probably have about 45% there. So really, we just don't want to see queen X or pocket 2s. I'm in the tank. I think in these spots, I tend to lean towards calling when I'm in a new game, but I want to make my decision easier, so I say,
how much to pick a card?
I don't always do this, but it's a friendly game. I give him some money. He shows me a card. He agrees. So we count out the chips, pay him the money, and so he asks us,
which one?
We're going to pick the card on the right. That's a very interesting one. Dookie even calls it the
Fun one.
This is the fun one?
Wow. I'm like,
Yeah, all right. So just for the vlog, I paid him 15 for a card, and he shows me this.
So he shows us the king of diamonds. So I think actually a pretty good card. So obviously it weights his range maybe towards value because there's no longer club draws. The alias hand is king queen, but I don't know if he'd play that way pre-flop. I think pocket 2s, which is a huge part of his value range, is obviously now eliminated. He doesn't do this with pocket kings, of course, because I've been very active. So if he had pocket kings, I would expect him to raise and hope that I would 3-bet, especially small blind first to act, completely out of position for the hand. So I think when he shows us this king of diamonds, he's going to have 3 combos here. He'll either have king queen, king jack, or king 10. Against king 10, we're a 62% favorite. Against king jack, we're an 85% favorite. And against king queen, we're a 4 to 1 dog. We only have 20% equity. So if we give him an even distribution of those hands, meaning he'll have each of them an equal number of times, we have 55% equity, which is more than enough to call. I don't really think this is the case. I think he definitely is doing this with either king 10 or king queen. If it is either of those hands and we give them to him equally, we'll have about 41%. It's definitely close, but in new games, I tend to lean toward call. So we're going to put the money in. I asked pretty quickly.
King queen?
king queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he gets us there. He has the king queen offsuit. Kind of trappy pre-flop. Definitely wasn't expecting it. He has to run it twice. I say sure, but we know we are most likely going to lose both. And that is exactly what happens. So Dookie Bets is going to get us there. He's going to scoop that $235 pot, but he's a gracious host. He knows his clients, so he pretty quickly asked me.
100 more?
Yes, please.
We had on for 100, and pretty shortly after, we're on the button, and we look down at ace jack offsuit.
Oh, here we go again.
But before we have to play ace jack off again, please help me welcome Reaper 10 to the table.
Jake, who's your biggest fan, by the way?
Are you the marine biologist?
No.
No? You don't study whales?
Reaper has been killing it on the Sunday Sharks Room. If you want to be like him, click the link in my bio. We call an under the gun open at $250. Small blind's gonna 3-bet up to $12. Under the gun calls, and we're getting a good price. We call 3 ways to a flop. Comes out 10, 9, 7 rainbow. So we flop a gut shot with 2 overs. Small blind actually checks, and the under the gun player is going to take over the betting for him. Under the gun reaches into his stack, and he puts out $12.50. About a third pot. I think you could probably just fold here, honestly. We do the gut shot and 2 overs. Playing in the new game, I like to give a lot of action, so I decided to call. Probably a punt with the small blind behind, but he actually just gets out of the way. So we go heads up to a turn, which is a total blank, 4 clubs. Under the gun is going to continue betting, but super small this time. Does the same bet on the turn that he did on the flop. Goes for $12.50. It's so small that I think we could peel and probably bluff a lot of rivers. So decide to do that. We call, and the river is probably a good bluff card for us. It's the king of diamonds. Now I'm not sure how many king X we're getting to the river with, but that's not really what we're trying to represent for this bluff. We have the jack of diamonds, so we are trying to represent jack queen for the nuts. We have the blocker, and especially when the under the gun player checks and he looks pretty disappointed that an overcard to that 10 came. You know, I think probably maybe can just fold the flop earlier in this hand, but having gotten here, I don't think ace high is good with the under the gun betting into 2 players and continuing on the turn. So I think we have no choice but to go for it. I pick up a big stack and announce that I'm
All in?
we shove for 73 effective. Under the gun doesn't look like he likes it, but he used to work at Verizon. He phones home to his mom every day, and when he gets a girl's number out at a bar, her phone starts ringing before she's even home. All that to say that he loves to call. He sticks it in with ace 9 of hearts, if you can believe that. So we lose a pretty big one, and Dookie Betts is going to give us some good advice.
Yo, don't bluff him.
We're going to lose a pretty sizable pot. 2 in a row. Need to turn things around pretty quickly. We're stuck in steaming when we're in the small blind and pick up ace king offsuit. Not many better hands to get unstuck with. There's a raise from the middle position to $3 over a $1 straddle, and when it folds back to me, we're going to 3-bet up to 15. A little bit on the larger side. I usually like to go 3x for 3-bets plus dead call money. Out of position going a little larger. So we went to 5x here. This is the same player that called our 3-bet with ace-jack offsuit earlier from the big blind. So we think he could call with a wider range than normal, but he's not in the mood to call.
All in.
Fuck! Yeah, you can hear I'm pretty frustrated. I even knock over my camera. We ask him to pull the 15s in and get a count. It looks very strong, this 4-bet. I've seen this player call down a little bit light and be loose in spots like that, but haven't seen him going crazy, especially not ripping it. It's 114 more, so it's a massive 4-bet. It's about 8.5x. So I'm deep in the tank. I think this is probably just a fold, based on how strong his line looks. But I am stuck and steaming, like I said earlier, a little bit tilting. So I take a very long time for this decision, especially for this kind of a game. Thinking about combos he could do this with. Obviously, ace-king is a hand that, against most pairs, we're flipping against. Does well against lower pocket pairs. Even up to jacks and queens does well against. Obviously, kings is not great, and worst case scenario is he shows us aces. We're thinking for a long time. We do the little dance with our cards, and we're actually going to decide to randomize here. I decided in game that
We're gonna call a fourth of the time. So if I pick the ace, we'll flip again. If I pick the king, I fold.
I love this.
Fold.
we randomized a fold. We were told later that it was a good fold as he had pocket aces, so frustrating spot, but we escaped this one, losing pretty much the minimum. That brings us to our hand of the night. We're in the big blind with ace king off again, and I'm actually going to let Dookie Betts walk you guys through this hand. Dookie Betts, take it away.
What's up, guys? It's Dookie Betts. Just wanted to quickly thank JQ for having me on the video today. I appreciate the support. I appreciate him coming to my home game as well. Certainly a good time having him, as always. Let's get into the hand. We've got the under the gun straddle on, and we see a middle position limp, as well as a button limp, and it gets over to me in the small blind. I look down at ace queen offsuit. This is a really good hand, so we go ahead and make things $5. Pretty quickly after I do this, JQ 3-bets me to $25. For the straddler, he puts in the $25 call, and it folds back over to me. So to break this hand down a little bit, I think we have to look at the 3-betting range of JQ. There's going to be a lot of players that are only 3-betting hands like aces, kings, and ace-king here. JQ definitely not one of those players. He's going to have some bluffs mixed in there, a wider range of hands that he's 3-betting. I've played with him at this point in time only once, but he's been sitting at the table for about an hour now, and I've definitely seen him 3-bet some marginal hands respectfully. So I think he's going to have a wide range of hands here, and overall our ace-queen is going to do pretty well against that. Additionally, this under-the-gun straddler doesn't necessarily scream strength to me either. I think he's almost always going to be dead money in this pot. So after a little bit of deliberation, I go ahead and stick things all in here. We get snap called by JQ. That's probably not a good sign. And the under-the-gun straddler comes along as well.
Thanks, Dookie. Of course we snap him off. I can't fold ace-king pre-flop twice in one session. So we're in a pretty good spot. You can see here, up against ace-queen. He has to run it twice. I always say sure. And let's go to a run out. Hit that like button for some run good on the first board. Here we go. We're going to flop a king. That's great for us. Turn another king. They're drawing dead, and the river's overkill. We hit quads. So we got half the pot locked up. Hit that subscribe button for some run good on the second board. Flop an ace. Doesn't really matter. Still need to fade a queen. Turn is clean. And we are going to scoop a $450 pot. Here we're going to get a count and see that I do barely cover Dookie Betts for the all-in. Thanks again for him for coming on the channel, doing this hand analysis, and for allowing me to come to his game, film, and playing it. Really nice guy. Go sub to his channel. Really good content that he puts out. We're going to be doing a lot more collabs together. So if you like this stuff, leave a comment, leave a like on both our channels. You can see his perspective of the session is up already. So definitely go check him out. But very happy to win this one. Finally getting unstuck for the session. Let's go. Here for our last hand of the night, we're on the button where we peel ace-jack. This time it's suited, so maybe we'll have some more luck with the suited variety as opposed to the offsuit variety that we've been having today. There's a limp in the hijack. I feel the same way about limpers that Christian Gray feels about Anastasia Steele. I have to punish them. I raise it up to $3. Don't mind going multi-way with this hand, but as played, it's going to fold around. Back to the hijack. And he wants to see 3, so he will stick in the call, going heads up to a flop. We give player across the table a sweat, and maybe he's good luck because we hit this flop harder than Will Smith hit Chris Rock. It is Jack 7-5 with 2 clubs. We have top pair, top kicker, and the nut flush draw. When it's checked to us, we go for a bet. We've been c-betting a lot tonight, so gonna go for the no credit on the button c-bet. He calls. turns the 8 of clubs. We make the nuts. He checked it here, and I'm going to check back. Against some stickier players, I'd go for 3 streets, but my feeling about this player is that he wouldn't want to call 3 streets if I barreled, but he might bluff on the river. Seems like what he's thinking about. He's in the tank, and eventually he will put in what I can assume is a bluff. We hit this board pretty hard. It's hard for him to have anything. He goes to 10, and we are going to announce raise. We make it 50. It doesn't seem like he has much because after very short deliberation, he's going to fold. And you're going to get my real-time analysis of this one right here.
You don't go smaller though?
Smaller?
Alright, man, it's been really pleasure.
He can only call me with a flush.
You made a good team. Yeah, but you're racking out hands left and right.
Yeah, for sure.
But you got tip money.
But he can only call me with a flush, anyways. You know what I mean? Like if he's betting a jack, he's betting to bet fold, anyways. If he's betting 2 pair or something, like he has to call with a flush, anyways. So I think it looks bluffier. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There you have it. Went larger to look bluffier. I think against the way I was playing that night, sets 2 pairs have to call, if not raise. Definitely flushes are going to raise me again. So, not bad. Always nice to win the last hand you play. That's the last interesting hand. We're going to rack up. All right, just finished a marathon session at Dookie Betts' place. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Guys, go like, subscribe on his channel. We were in for way too much, out for slightly more than that. Had a lot of fun. Definitely be back here collabing with this guy. He's a great content and all that stuff. So go check him out, like, subscribe this one, and we'll see you in the next one.